Have you ever met someone who seems to read emotions like a native language, not because they studied it, but because their survival once depended on it? Here's a strange truth that psychology is only now naming. Some of the sharpest, most perceptive minds you'll encounter weren't forged in libraries or lecture halls. They were sculpted inside unpredictable homes, chaotic relationships, or environments where calm was never guaranteed. Their brains didn't choose to become hyper-alert. They were trained by necessity. Researchers now call this traumatic intelligence. And if the term feels new to you, that's exactly why this conversation matters. The premise is subtle but powerful. Adversity doesn't only break people. In a surprising number of cases, it also recalibrates them. Studies in developmental psychology show that children raised in emotionally volatile settings often develop an extraordinary sensitivity to facial microexpressions, vocal tone, and unspoken group dynamics. The amygdala and prefrontal cortex wire themselves early to detect threats and emotional shifts that others simply overlook. The result? An invisible form of intelligence, quiet, fast, and remarkably deep. The first sign: you walk into a room, and before a single word is spoken, you know the emotional weather. A stiff shoulder here, a forced smile there. This isn't magic. It's pattern recognition, drilled into you by years of scanning for safety. Second, you notice when someone is hurting before they admit it, sometimes before they even realize it themselves. Psychologists call this hyper-empathy. It emerges in people who had to track a caregiver's mood just to avoid conflict. You learn to feel others because your peace once depended on it. Third, you become eerily calm when things fall apart. A crisis hits, and instead of panicking, you get strategic. That's stress inoculation, a nervous system trained in high-stakes environments because high stakes was your normal. Fourth, you obsess over why people do what they do. You replay conversations. You search for hidden motives. This compulsive psychological analysis wasn't a hobby. It was survival gear. Fifth, here's where it gets interesting. Everything listed so far, perceptiveness, empathy, strategic calm, none of it is a flaw pretending to be a strength. These are genuine cognitive upgrades, and they reveal something beautiful about the brain's ability to adapt. Sixth, you are quietly, fiercely self-reliant. You don't wait for rescue. You build solutions alone. When childhood support was unreliable, dependence felt dangerous, so competence became your default setting. Seventh, you feel life on a different frequency. Music cuts deeper. Injustice makes your chest burn. A stranger's small kindness can bring tears. This emotional intensity comes from a sensitized amygdala, which means you don't just observe the world, you feel the world at a volume most people never hear. Eighth, trust does not come easily, but when you give it, it's absolute. Psychologists call this adaptive skepticism. Your brain built strong filters because it learned that not every safe signal was real. The result? Fewer friends, but far more real ones. Ninth, rest feels wrong. Stillness makes your mind race. Silence becomes loud. That's not brokenness. That's a nervous system conditioned to stay on guard. Learning to rest for someone with traumatic intelligence is an act of reclamation. 10th and most defining, you carry a quiet, unshakable sense of meaning. Pain wasn't meaningless. You've looked into suffering, yours and others, and something inside refused to let it be wasted. Post-traumatic growth research shows that many who navigate real adversity emerge with a piercing clarity about what matters. You didn't just survive, you built a philosophy. So here's what we sit with. Traumatic intelligence is not a badge to celebrate without honoring the cost. The sharpness is real. But so was the struggle. What psychology invites us to see is that the human mind is not simply wounded by hardship. It is also, in specific and measurable ways, transformed by it. The empathy you carry, the way you read a room, the depth of your thinking, none of it is accidental. It is the architecture of a brain that learned to grow fast and did. The question isn't how you got here. The question is, What will you build with the intelligence you forged along the way? If this hit home, hit like and subscribe to Psychology Insights, because some minds grow in the dark, and we're here for those.